Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeart Radio Network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America. Thank you so much for following Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network. And also, I want to tell you bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America. Thank you for following Big C Sports across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. And of course, you good old boys from Canada. We love you so much, Canada, for following Big C Sports. But there's no one I love more than them good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south, Big C?
We're trying to figure out life down here. You know, we get up, the sun is shining, the roosters are crowing. Everything is feeling good for a few minutes. You know, one of the beautiful things about being down here in a carefree environment, you know, you can walk out on your back porch.
Yeah.
You don't have any neighbors looking in your backyard, so you don't even have to get dressed.
Okay, you sound like you can live in the White House, from what I understand, Big C. At least in the White House, you can take your shoes off. The last time I got the invitation, that's what they said. Don't wear shoes when you're sitting on POTUS sofa, Big C. Today is a beautiful April the 19th, 2017, in the land of the free and the home of the brave. We got a lot of things going on in the world of sports, Big C, with the NBA playoffs. We also have the, baseball's getting into the swing of things, and people are still talking about who's going to draft whom in the NFL. I think the 49ers have $74 million in the cap room, so they're going to hopefully try to build a better organization over in the Bay Area, Big C. But before we even get started with the basketball or the NHL that's going on, would you believe that Trump's daughter, I think she's worth $700 million. You think she'd be more popular in the hood worth $700 million, Big C? That make any sense to you good old boys? Can you hear me, Big C?
Yeah, Charles, not only that, when the Chinese president was here, she cut a deal for 3 trademark patents over in China.
Yeah.
As far as pushing her product. Now, I thought that the office of the presidency was not supposed to be used for profiting.
Yeah.
And yet she's on his staff, whether she's paid or not, she's utilizing the leverage of that country, Tony,
Yeah.
and of the White House.
Yeah.
Now, if you recall, Trump said that China was the largest money manipulator in the world.
Yeah.
and now he's manipulating money from his daughter out of the country, as well as all the products are made in China, Charles. So, is he trying to buy America?
Oh, yeah.
Made in America? I think that was part of his slogan.
Yeah.
But, that's for you people that are not in my family.
Yeah.
But my family can profit wherever they want in the world.
Yeah, when he said buy America, he meant buy, I'm taking off on an airplane. That seems to be the kind of buy he was talking about. And nothing wrong with somebody making money. If you're an American citizen, you should be able to make money. But it seems like POTUS and his daughter, they're using their power, which is against the emollients law. They're using their power with the Trump Corporation, and someone would be a knucklehead to think that he's not involved in that corporation to make money worldwide with the influence of the White House. I know he met with the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, or she did, back in February, Big C. But for the American people that voted for POTUS, and they're saying he's going to create jobs in the United States, his daughter's worth $740 million by creating jobs outside of the United States, Big C. That's not employing many Americans, especially for the African Americans. I think 8% voted for Trump. Have you had any type of infusion of $740 million into the African American communities? Big C, your thoughts on that?
I only know if he put $7
Yeah, that's funny.
It's ironic that, America's fallen for his bill of goods.
Yeah.
He's deflecting in every opportunity. It's like he dropped a huge bomb over in Afghanistan a week or so ago, Charlton, to deflect from what was going on. He also bombed Syria to deflect from what's going on. I think the American public is, at some point, and it's kind of proven by his whole approval rating, has to ask, when are the jobs going to come? I know everybody said give him a chance. It hasn't been 100 days, but if you can concentrate on banning of Muslims coming into America on a racial ban, and talk about building a wall, another racial ban, Charlton, in America. At what point are you going to talk about the infusion of industry? That talk about Courier when they they were.
Yeah.
They weren't going to leave anyway. And plus, you gave them $7 million to stay.
I'd stay for $7 million. I'd stay for.
I think I would stay in my house.
Yeah, a lot of.
Ford, Ford, adding 150 jobs. Ford stabilized 150 jobs.
Yeah.
What is 150 jobs in the Ford Corporation, Jonathan?
Nothing. Yeah.
That's nothing. And overall amount of the tens of thousands of employees that they have.
Yeah.
But, we haven't seen any establishment of policy. I think that's what America needs is the establishment of policy.
Yeah.
Well, he will go out, he's gotten rid of NAFTA.
Yeah.
What is America going to do for trade? Last night we spoke about the increase of produce price in America because it's very difficult for the Latin Americans to come into America now, John.
Yeah, and that's funny.
Who
Yeah.
worked those fields and made it stable for the American economy to be able to afford the produce and things like that they needed to put on the table to feed their families, John.
Makes a lot of sense, Big C. I do want to say today's segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Her businesses, they had a lot of boycotts. They faced a lot of boycotts up at Nordstrom, and they talked about poor sales coming out of there since a lot of pushback came when Kellyanne Conway gave her that free, 30-second soundbite on some TV program. But ironically, no matter what the lady does, if anyone can make money, go make it. But I wish every American had the opportunity to have the White House be your resume builder. If someone calls for a reference, they can call the White House, and that will help you in raising the $700+ million. It's not as if she's any more intelligent than anybody else who had that opportunity. Give the average person in the inner city $740 million and use the White House as their endorsement, and then a lot of people would do business with you. And I think that's the wrong thing. The message to send is that we're trying to build a wall to keep Mexicans out, right? We have Vicente Fox, the former president of Mexico, saying there's no way in hell he's going to build that wall. There's no way in hell Mexicans are going to build that wall. And as he's talking about trying to build a wall to keep people of color from coming into the United States, his daughter, who's Caucasian, from last I understand, she's going all over the world where she's dealing with people of color when it makes a profit for the Trump family and the foundations, Big C. That strikes me as a bit of hypocrisy, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Jonathan, when you can get cheap labor at minimal cost, that's what the Trump organization is looking at. I understand any corporation has the right to do business in the world. But when you talk about make America first, you talk about buy American, made in America, and yet no company that you represent in the Trump organization does this, Charlton. Everything comes from a second and third world country that you sell as your products in America. So, quite hypocritical based on what you're telling people and what you got people to vote for you on, that you were going to build opportunity in America. I want all those people who voted for Trump to stand up and show us how many jobs that they've gotten, how many jobs their family members have gotten, how many projects that have been initiated. There's one thing that Trump has done since he's been president. He elected a Supreme Court justice. Not in favor of everyone, but he did that, Jonathan. And that's the only policy that he's put in place. Other than that, he's been a lot of talk. He signed a lot of executive orders. The public needs to understand those executive orders really do not benefit the general public. They benefit corporations. And those corporations are allowed to get tax breaks and make billions or more dollars and not increase the minimum wage. Now, if you're giving a corporation, Charlton, a 20% tax break, you're taking it from 20% to 15%. Why can't the minimum wage in America be raised to $10 to $12 an hour? Because you're giving this huge tax break. That's what the layman person doesn't look at, is that if you can give these corporations a tax break, then the minimum wage needs to increase to $10 to $12 an hour across the board, if not higher, in America. Because think about how many people, what is it, $8.50 an hour minimum wage? I believe
somewhere in there. Some states $10 an hour too.
Well, I'm just talking about the national average.
National average,
And so when you have people trying to support families on what he won't leave as a tip, okay? This is the problem with America.
Well,
if you're going to give corporate to reach 1% of American population, the tax rate, at least force a wage and a minimum wage across the table, Joe.
Well, Big C, yesterday everyone had, because of the Easter holiday and all the celebrations, and people had until the 18th to get their taxes filed at 12 o'clock midnight. I don't know if you've heard. I haven't heard. I've been watching all the news channels. I even tried to listen to about 5 minutes of Rush Limbaugh before I threw up, Big C. Has Donald Trump paid his taxes, Big C? I haven't heard Hannity or that good old boy O'Reilly. None of them talked about POTUS showing his taxes, which he promised the American people that he would do as soon as he's done with his audit. Have you heard about POTUS paying his taxes or even revealing his taxes, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think once again he'll ask for an extension because he's been so preoccupied in trying to keep the Mexicans out of America and the Muslims out of America.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't had time to look into his taxes.
Yeah.
So, it's just another deflection. Think about the number of Americans who may have missed the deadline, Charlton, and the IRS will be coming after them with fines and penalties.
Yeah.
And yet, he does it year after year and laughs at America. This is the guy he voted for that's going to be seeking more of your money.
Yeah.
When you think about the expeditious cost that he has on everything, Charlton, defending his family, protecting his family, in their world travel to do personal business, to take vacations and all of those things. America's in pretty good of a dismay right now as far as that goes.
Well, Big C, that makes a lot of sense also. And as we just diverge into the world of sports and politics, I do want to say congratulations to the New England Patriots because today they actually made their visit to the White House, where a lot of sports teams have gone over there to the White House and met with the president. We also had Tom Brady. He did not go to meet with Donald Trump, even though they consider themselves friends. I guess he cited some family issues. I hope that his mother's doing okay. But several other New England Patriots didn't go either to the White House. But people say that sports and politics do not mix. Were you able to see, I think I was watching a little bit of CNN News, that good old boy Rob Gronkowski, the guy that walks around with his shirt off all the time trying to show his pecs, Big C, he actually walked in on a press conference with Sean Spicer, and Spicer had to say, "Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, we'll talk about that later." He was trying to get a beer from the White House, Big C. Can people say that sports and politics don't mix anymore, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I think it comes to the lack of intelligence of Gronkowski.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks of him as a playful goof, I guess, Charles.
Yeah.
At times his intelligence, when he plans these things or he just runs off the cuff. Now, and not only that, Gronkowski right now is under investigation by the NFL for these supplements that he's been taking.
You think so?
The boy doesn't play with a full tank at any time anyway. But, I look at the number of players who did not show today at the White House, Charles.
Yeah.
I think they said that there were 43 people that went to the White House. But you got to look at it from this perspective, Johnson. On the active roster, you had 53 players. Okay?
Yeah.
You also got to think that the Patriots probably had a half dozen to a dozen players on injury reserve. So I'm going to say another 10.
Yeah.
Takes it up to 63.
Yeah.
You got 10 on the practice roster, so we're up to 73, Johnson.
Yeah.
73 to 75 players on the New England Patriots that receive Super Bowl rings, okay?
Yeah.
And only 43 show up, Johnson.
Yeah.
So, this is not the first time that all players have not showed up. Tom Brady didn't show up when Barack Obama the last time he won.
Yeah.
He didn't show up this time for Donald Trump. I think it was more of a political scenario.
Yeah.
With Donald trying to say that I'm not backing him. But he is. So, whatever excuse he wanted to use, just like he was going to get an iPad.
Yeah.
Last time that,
when Obama was in the White House.
At the White House.
Yeah.
But, I look at the overall lack of numbers that did not show up.
Yeah.
Now, even the first President Bush didn't get everybody to show up from the Indianapolis coast.
Yeah.
But, to have this type of stance that was stated from the outcome that I will not show up by many players, that voicing their displeasure in the current leadership we have in America.
Yeah.
And it's justified, Jonathan, because it is not a fair and impartial presidency that we have. It's a very biased, one-way presidency.
Yeah.
And it rubs a lot of players. Now, you don't have to be black to feel that way because majority of the players that didn't show up were white. Now, I think America needs to understand that.
Yeah, that's true.
And they made voiceful statements about it that they would not be there because they did not care for the character of this man.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks volume when you have sports figures. We saw how he blasted Colin Kaepernick, Charles.
Yeah.
Which was wrong for a political individual to come out and take a stance against an individual in sports who has nothing to do with you, who is talking about what you stand for that's negative.
But let me,
and so since that bothers you, you wanted to blast the man.
Well, Big C, let me ask you this question, and I know it's real talk. We speak with a lot of energy because it's real. Do you think that President Trump is getting media? It might sound cynical for some people to say this, but do you think he's getting preferential treatment because he is white and makes those racial statements? If President Obama had came up and said, "Don't hire a white quarterback," there were two that were accused of sexual assault. No one came out and said, "Don't hire these guys." And you think if he were a black man, let's just be honest, could he speak about grabbing women by the vagina? Could he speak about telling women they look like pigs and that they're ugly and that he can do anything he wants to do and get away with it? If he were a black man talking that way, would the media be as kind? Would Rush Limbaugh and Hannity be as kind to him, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it comes down to class and classless, okay?
Yeah.
Let's start it right there. President Obama has too much intelligence and too much class to stoop to the level of a Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I think any presidential campaign, candidate or even previous president has too much class to slip to that level.
Yeah.
But, when Donald Trump has made the statements that he has made and being backed by certain people in the media defending his statements, that lets you know of their character and what type of person that they are.
Well, let me ask you this question, Big C. Let me
finish this point right here. One of his main backers, Bill O'Reilly, is on the hot seat and about to be ousted by Fox News for his sexual misconduct escapades against female employees at Fox.
Yeah.
They've had to spend millions of dollars over Bill O'Reilly's sexual misconduct at that station, yet he's been one of Trump's biggest backers, and he's about to go.
Yeah.
And many others, Roger Ailes, his former boss, had to go. But Rupert Murdoch understands that in a media empire, you cannot have sex offenders on the air.
Yeah.
And so he's got rid of Roger Ailes, and now he's about to let go of Riley. Riley, he's like Hannity, just comes on early. He's like Limbaugh.
Yeah.
He's a pathetic individual.
Yeah.
That has a lot of believers in him that are also pathetic also, Charles.
And so when
you can live by racism and sexism, offensive statements against women, you're a pathetic person.
Well, let me ask you this question, because we got away from a lot of that ugliness in the South during the days of Jim Crow. We have John Lewis, who's part of that. He has that video when you go to the African American Museum in Virginia, Big C. And also we saw the great speeches of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and how he stood out against bigotry. We talked about earlier this month how baseball started, and now the Dodgers, they put a bus outside of the Dodgers Stadium for Jackie Robinson. All of the racial hatred that he had to put up with, not only from media, Big C, a lot of it came from his teammates, Big C, and that same type of racial enmity is what Donald Trump has spewed. So I want to ask you this question. You have Bob Kraft, who owns the New England Patriots, and actually he can do whatever he wants to. He may even be just like Donald Trump. We don't know. But he gives Donald Trump a jersey with the name Trump on the back of it. He does that to POTUS. What does that say to every woman that buys jerseys at Gillette Stadium or in Boston, which is a very progressive city with, they have Harvard's there, they have a lot of great universities there, and a lot of intelligent people. Does that say tacitly to any woman that you really don't matter because this is just another good old boy, so sit down and shut up? Does that what tacitly consenting means with Kraft giving Trump a jersey? Does he really approve of grabbing women by the vagina and all that garbage, Big C? Go right ahead, sir.
I kind of believe that they're on the same page to a degree. It's condescending for you to give, this man that type of representation and homage with the thing he said. I understand that you've been friends with the guy for a long time. It means you guys have the same mindset to a degree. But, to go out, it was more tradition today than anything else.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. But, for a man to be an acknowledged sexual assaulter, I think that's why I have the biggest problem with the president, Charlton, more than anything else. He's not going to create the jobs that he said he's going to create.
No.
He's going to, the only jobs he's going to create are military jobs here in America because he's dying to go to war. Yeah.
No, he's not dying to go. He wants to send other kids, Big C. Let's just correct that.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Jobs that he's going to create, Charlton, by sending Americans to war. And when your kids start getting drafted and your nephew and your cousin and your little brother, then you'll say, well, wait, this is not what we elected this guy for.
Yeah.
We have the strongest military
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. We have the strongest Navy in the world. We have the strongest Air Force in the world. The thing that the average American need to understand, Jonathan, are those tax dollars that you paid your entire working life.
Yeah.
51% of them have always gone to the military in the U.S.
Yeah.
You think about it. 51% of all the tax dollars in America every year has gone to the military.
Yeah.
The 49% is left to take care of everything else the tax covers, whether it's civil service, social services, Medicaid. All of those programs are covered under education. You know, civil servants.
Yeah.
All that is covered under the other 49%. So 51% of every tax dollar in America for decades have gone to the military. So you're talking about increasing spending. So if you take another 8%, 9%, think about how many programs that you have to cut out for your grandmother, for your grandfather, for your parents that are elderly.
Yeah.
Those programs have to be cut. Oh, by the way, the education system. Think about the lack of funding for education, the free meals that children receive. They were started by the Black Panthers back in the 60s in Oakland, California.
Yeah.
Those programs will be cut out. The Meals on Wheels to the elderly that do not have transportation. They cannot get out and get around. I know it may not concern a lot of people, Jonathan. Other people don't have because they have the ability to ride and listen to the XM radio in the car.
Yeah.
You know, got their 4K television at home. And got the Benz and the BMW in the driveway. But those are people out there in America that are the backbone of America. Even when we look at old athletes, Jonathan, that had to fight the NFL over the CTE issue.
Yeah.
Okay? Over the injury issues over the years that the NFL would not acknowledge. Yet the NFL was making billions of dollars a year saying, well, hey, these guys don't have any physical disabilities or mental disabilities from playing football. Anybody who's ever played high school football can sit up and say that your body hurts.
Yeah.
Okay? And if you played college football, you have a little more pain and aches also.
Yeah, that's true.
For those of us who played in the NFL and professional football, you know, I've had 15 operations, Jonathan. 15.
Yeah.
Okay? I have problems every day. Every day I have problems. But 15 operations is taking its toll on my body. I don't get around too well. Got the arthritis. I know I have bits of CTE due to the amount of concussions that I suffered. I suffered close to a dozen concussions, Jonathan, in my career.
Yeah.
So when people say that you want to cut funding for programs, and yes, I can speak from an athletic perspective, but I'm speaking from a human perspective of the elderly.
Yeah.
Having elderly parents, you know, knowing that they need these programs that they work so hard on minimum wage for years to be able to afford in their latter years.
Yeah, that's true.
And you're talking about taking Social Security and Medicaid, that this is all they have to survive on when these people are in their 80s and 90s, Charlton?
Yeah.
And Donald Trump's daughter worth $750 million?
No, let's...
About those things, Charlton.
And when you... Yeah.
Look at this. He spends $45,000 a year for his son to go to a private school. Tell me how many senior citizens have a $45,000 a year income, okay?
That is very good. That is very good information, Big C. And a lot of times people think as long as it has a black face to it that they can try to get rid of it. But you brought up a very good point. Something that has a lot of misinformation, I would think. It was the Black Panther Party that started. Did you say Meals on Wheels? Is that what you said, Big C?
No, they started the Head Start program that became a universal American icon that all kids of under receive free lunch at school.
Yeah.
Because people know that when children have a meal in their belly at the start of the day, they're more willing to learn and talk and more attentive.
Well, that's amazing. That information is very good information because you have POTUS ending programs that will help the needy. And I want to say, speaking of needy, sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation of this billion-dollar industry. And when you have a sports program, you also need athletic and sports insurance. Big C Sports and Ben and Mark provide athletic and sports insurance, and we do it in all 50 states in the United States. And we can even do it worldwide in most countries. Tweet out the Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network if you need athletics and events insurance, whether you're a pro athlete, a collegiate athlete, or even a high school athlete or mom and pop soccer league. Tweet out the Big C Sports, and Ben and Mark, we got you covered on the iHeart Radio Network. Big C, as we look around the world of sports, and I know there was another tragedy with Aaron Hernandez, the former New England Patriot tight end, and actually life came to an end. There's some speculation as to what happened. I don't know, and I won't even get into the political side of it, but I just want to say my condolences go out to his family and also to the victims that he's accused of harming. So that was a really difficult situation. But also, keeping in the city of Boston, we have in the NBA playoffs, the Boston Celtics, back in the days of Larry Bird, they were always a number one seed. You expected them to go on at least to the Eastern Conference Finals. Well, this team, they're the number one seed in the East, Big C, but they're down 0 games to 2 to the Chicago Bulls, which have an old team. Rajon Rondo, 11 points, 14 assists, and you even had Dwayne Wayne putting in 22 points, including 16 in the second half. Robin Lopez added 18 points and 8 rebounds. What's going on with Boston? I know that Thomas had some issues, some personal issues going on with the loss of his sister, but something's going on with Boston. They just looked like they didn't have any energy. They were being booed at their home arena, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you said that Chicago was an old team.
Yeah.
What do you need in the playoffs?
You need some history, some knowledge, some experience. Yeah.
Okay. So I'd rather be old in the playoffs, with playoff experience, understanding how the game is played at this time of the year.
Yeah.
Than a bunch of young guys running around being excited about being there, okay?
Yeah.
That's the difference that you have in the two teams. When you look at Lopez is playing like Kevin Garnett several years ago.
Yeah.
When he played with the Celtics for Chicago.
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade, we know he's been in the finals multiple times, Charlton. Playoffs is no new neighborhood for him. He has several championship rings, along with Rajon Rondo, who has a championship ring with the Celtics. So when you look at that Cleveland lineup, Charlton, you have players that have been there. So they understand what the moxie is about playing in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Boston is a team that Danny Ainge keeps building.
Yeah.
And they keep waiting on that one great young player. Okay, Isaiah Thomas is 29 years old.
Yeah.
He's had 2 back-to-back great years in the NBA, but he's 29 years old. Boston has a very young, inexperienced team. Brad Stevens, yes, he went to 2 Final Fours as a coach.
Yeah.
At Butler. But this is the NBA. This is the grown man league, Charles.
Yeah.
And so you got grown men playing in Miami who have been there, who understands. You have a coach that has been to the finals, 4 times?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, when you talk about experience, and that's what you need in the playoffs, Chicago, I'm thinking about Miami when Wade was there.
Oh, yeah, when Wade was there, yeah.
When I look at Chicago, Charlton, this is a team that, has been there as far as the players on the court.
Yeah.
And they're not overwhelmed. You would think that Isaiah Thomas wouldn't be performing for Boston with the tragic loss of his sister.
Yeah.
But he's been out playing the rest of the players on his team. His teammates look like they're out there trying to be sympathetic towards him instead of having some intensity towards the opposing team.
Well, that's a very good point.
They need to do what Isaiah Thomas is doing. He understands the tragic loss of his family, and your hearts go out to him and the rest of the Thomas family. But he knows he has a job to do on the court, and he does that. The rest of the team is like, we're out here, supporting him. You need to play for him, not supporting, play for him.
Do you recall when the Celtics it was the Celtics and they were playing Detroit Pistons, and Larry Bird, he had a great play where he stole the ball, I think, from Isaiah Thomas with about 5 seconds left in the game, and I think Boston either took the lead or tied the game back in the day. And that
he swung it out to Dennis Johnson.
Yeah, to Dennis Johnson. And they had that great announcer, I can't remember his name right now, but he always sounded like Larry Bird. Larry Bird steals the ball. What's that good old boy's name? I can't remember it right now.
I can't get him, Charles, but that raspy voice came from cigarettes back in the day. But that's the intensity of
a lot of effort. A lot of effort in that game. Yeah. They don't have that same effort now, Big C. Your thoughts?
They're not, Jonathan. This is when we talk about the youth and the B generation of athletes. Is that, they play for a highlight play. They don't play to play consistently.
Yeah.
And so they're out there looking for the big three. They're looking for the fantastic dunk.
Yeah.
Instead of just playing pick and roll basketball.
Well,
setting up teammates, getting assists, Charlton. Boston is not doing that right now. They play with lack of energy. And that lack of energy, they have a chance to win the series. I mean, teams will come back from 2 down before, Charlton.
Yeah.
But I just don't see it in Boston because unless there's somebody won't get past Game 5, Charles.
Well, let me ask you about Game 2 out in Southland, where you were just down in California. The Clippers with a 99-91 win over the Utah Jazz, and Blake Griffin scored 24 points. Chris Paul had 21 points for Los Angeles, and they evened the series at one game apiece. And Blake Griffin actually shot 52.4% in that game. DeAndre Jordan, who I think is the best rebounder in basketball, at least the most dominant, 18 points and 15 rebounds. And you had Gordon Hayward with 20 points for Utah, and Chris Paul had 10 assists for the Clippers. The Clippers finally played Big C like they're the team that they should be. I know Utah's a better team than people give them credit for, but it's good to see the Clippers turning things around and getting the ball passed around a lot. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when Utah lost this big man, Charlton, in that Game 1,
yeah,
the Clippers should have won that game. And now they've understood that with him being out, that this is their time.
Yeah.
This is their time to get out of the first round, and they will. They will win this series against Utah.
Yeah.
Because they don't have that stopper in the middle. Now, you got to look at it. Blake Griffin and Chris Paul played the same game in Game 2 that they played Game 1. They combined for 51 points in their first game and 49 in this game, Charlton.
Yeah.
So they're very solid performance. You know, the rest of the team, Deion Jordan, you know, when you get something from Deion, you can't lose. And that's what they did. So the Clippers athletically are more fit to beat Utah in this series. They will advance to the second round. And like I said, there was a stunner in that Game 1, a real wake-up call. You're lucky to have Doc Rivers on the bench, a very veteran coach who understands how to put his foot in somebody's butt, you know, when they're underperforming.
Yeah.
And he did that against the Clippers, Charlton,
Yeah.
you know, after Game 1.
I want to ask you another game. The Raptors hold off the Bucks to even that series at one apiece. And the Greek freak, Antetokounmpo, what a stud of an athlete. Just reminds me of someone who can go on and dominate a game. But you look at Kyle Lowry, how he had a great game, 22 points in that game, and the Bucks actually fall to Toronto 106-100. Just your thoughts on DeMar DeRozan, 23 points. When he and Lowry get it going, they have a very strong 1-2 punch, and that should get Toronto back on their footing. But they got to get Milwaukee going back to Milwaukee this time. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, to go on the road and get a split, Charlton, is a plus for anybody in the NBA at this time. That's all you ever hope for on the road is a split, because now you have home court advantage.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at Lowry and DeRozan in the backcourt in Toronto, very solid tandem. You know, they picked up Serge Ibaka from Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
You know, and brought him in to help them out in the playoff run because he gave them some experience on the front line.
Yeah.
So, you know, but them dropping Game 1 and going back to Milwaukee now, are they going to have an answer for the Greek freak at home?
Probably not.
You know, you may beat him one game, Charlton, but in a 7-game series, it's going to be very difficult. I like Milwaukee's chances, even though, you know, Toronto finished ahead of them in the division.
Yeah.
I like what this young Milwaukee team has done, and all they got to do is get hot. They got a better team than what a lot of people give them credit for, Charlton. And in the playoffs, it's only about a short series, not an entire season.
Well, speaking of a short series, I look at, you were just talking about this even before the playoffs started. You talked about Golden State and should they hold out Durant. I'm making him the sixth man off the bench. I think tonight against Portland, he's going to be in street clothes. Has another sprain in his lower extremities, Big C. But that's a team, Golden State, favored by 13.5 tonight over Portland. Houston's favored by 8 over OKC, and Washington's favored by 5 over Atlanta. Ironically, Golden State doesn't seem to miss a beat, even with Durant on the bench. Coming off the bench would be great for them also. Just your thoughts, will not having Durant in the lineup tonight give Golden State any kind of worry against a good team from Portland? Your thoughts, Big C?
Charlton, when Durant went down before, what was it, 16-3?
Yeah.
I kind of had the best record in the NBA when he went out.
Yeah.
Okay. Over a 19-game stretch. So this is a team, I mean, he went out in that game, Charlton. Did they slow down when he went out of the game?
No, not at all.
So.
No.
You know, they have so many weapons. And the wonderful thing about Golden State, Charlton, is they know this is step-up time.
Yeah.
Okay, even at this point in the playoffs last year when they were down in 2 different series, they didn't panic.
Yeah.
And I think that they understand that with Durant out, is that the ball flows even more fluidly.
Yeah.
Because they do things to get Durant shots. They recognize him as a scorer.
Yeah.
But they do things to get him shots, Charlton. Now you got these sharpshooters that they've always had on the roster.
Yeah.
So right now, Golden State is getting ready to move back to the in the NBA.
Yeah.
Okay? The team that went 16-3 with Durant out of the lineup.
Yeah.
So, and if Steve Kerr is smart when Durant gets healthy again, he'll do what I've been saying, make him a sixth man.
Yeah.
Bring him off the bench. If you go out and you win your next 2 or 3 games and Durant's not in the lineup, bring him off the bench. Guarantee yourself a victory in every game. It would be like having Aroldis Chapman, when the Cubs were in the World Series and playoffs last year.
Yeah, that's what.
You're bringing this guy in that can throw a 103-mile-an-hour fastball. Nobody can hit him. You're bringing a 6'11" guy off the bench that plays like he's 6'1". No one can defend him, Charlton.
That makes a lot of sense. And just a little bit on the NHL, they have the playoffs going on as well. Just want to go on Tuesday's results. New York Rangers 2, Montreal 1, Columbus 5, Pittsburgh 4, and San Jose 7, Edmonton nothing. Today's games, Washington at Toronto. That started at 4 o'clock. Ottawa's at Boston. That tipped off at 4:30. Minnesota's at St. Louis. That's a 6:30 p.m. start. And Anaheim's going to be at Calgary. I just want to touch on a little bit before we close this segment on this beautiful day. It is actually the 19th of April, 2017 on Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network. Big C, I'm really proud of the city of Sacramento, Northern California. I think it's a jewel of a sports city. The 2020, the NCAA, they will return to the Golden One Center. And I think they had over 55,000 fans in the 3 days of events. And usually UCLA and Oregon helped a lot too. But just a great showcase for Northern California. It was the last time they were back here since 2007. Also for Northern California, you have the NCAA, the track and field. They'll hold their men's Division I and women's outdoor track and field championship at Hornet Stadium. And that's going to be May 26th to 28th. That's in 2022. I remember attending the Olympic trials when they had it here in Northern California also. And more good news for Northern California and the Sacramento region. The MLS just said that Sacramento is going to get an expanded MLS league for soccer. That's moving up to the Big Boys League with FC Republic. They're going to build a 25,000-seat stadium about a half mile away from Golden One Center, just north of downtown in the rail yards. Big C, what does that mean when one city like Sacramento can get the new Golden One Center in 1 year? Within a few years, they're getting a new Major League Soccer stadium, and that's all in Northern California while teams are actually leaving the Bay Area, such as the Raiders. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charles, it shows the infusion of money and also the infusion of the Hispanic population, which is in the soccer team.
I was just going to say that.
Donald Trump could be a little peeved about that, but also, California's a blue state.
Yeah.
But you got to understand, when you look at the youth soccer, Charlton, around the country, the participation, our family, and it's a family event.
Yeah.
It's a game that moves at a pace that anyone can understand.
Yeah.
And the youth league, I know my son played some soccer for some time. And it allows boys and girls to participate.
Yeah.
Like softball does, Charlton. And so when you can bring American society together and you can make it an economic windfall for a community, that's what the Major League Soccer will do in Sacramento.
Yeah.
You talk about building a stadium. Okay, this is the city of Sacramento building a stadium.
Yeah.
Not Donald Trump committing a program.
Yeah.
So this is the city creating jobs, Charlton. They're going to create construction jobs. They're going to create jobs within this facility once it's built, Charlton.
Yeah.
So when you talk about a president, about what he's going to do, and you think about the progression of Sacramento building the Golden One Center,
now
they're going to build a soccer stadium. They're going to have more and more events coming to that community.
Yeah.
Those events create jobs and economy, Charlton. When you talk about the people that attended the NCAA playoffs there at the Golden One Center, that's hotels, that's restaurants, that's parking, that's rental cars. So things are being done in communities around the country, and everyone who hosted an event that the president had nothing to do with. He can't go out to, this community, during the tournament, they raised $27 million for the local economy. Okay, what did you have to do with that? The NCAA tournament was already set.
Yeah.
It's just like the college baseball World Series tournament. Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
He can't go and say that he's infused that money. The Super Bowl, Charlton, it was already planned for Houston.
Yeah.
So that money was already in place. So when we have these sporting events like the World Series, the Big C World Series last year, it does such a tremendous job in the cities that it goes to.
Yeah.
As far much fanfare. And you think about this, Charlton, this past World Series, may have set records for ticket sales.
Yeah.
Right. When you think of people paying in excess of $20,000 for single game tickets.
Yeah.
That's the economy, Charlton, getting a hit. Okay?
Yeah.
Because even though it came from a local person that sold that ticket, Charlton, that's more money that they're going to have to infuse in their local economy.
That's very true.
That's what sports does, Charlton. Sports infuses money in the economies. And so, like, when the Rams left St. Louis, and now we have the Raiders set to leave Oakland, Charlton,
yeah,
that's money that's taken out of communities. I want to ask this question. How will the president replace the money that is going to leave, that's left that community of St. Louis and also going to leave that community of Oakland? What is the president going to do when he says, make America first? What is he going to do for those communities, Charles?
I want to tell you what he's going to do. I just saw in the final minute, Big C, David Letterman had a show with Donald Trump was on there just a couple of years ago, and Donald Trump was talking about Make America Great Again, and David Letterman, one of the best comedians in the history of television, he opens up one of his ties and he says, but Donald, this tie says made in China. And all Donald Trump could do is say, oh, because the good old boy didn't think that David Letterman could read like a lot of the people who voted for him, Big C. But David Letterman said, well, your ties are made in China. How is that helping America stay great? And Donald Trump, just like Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh, he had nothing to say. He just sat there and said, oh. And so that shows how crooked the guy is. I just hope that everybody in America can get along no matter who you vote for. The last thing I want to say, Big C, before we get your final thoughts, is taxpayers have already contributed $4.6 million to an NFL football stadium in Las Vegas. In the first month, it came out of increased area hotel taxes in the Las Vegas area, and that's a head-up project. In 1 month in Las Vegas, they've raised $4.6 million in 1 month, Big C, to go toward the building of the Raiders Stadium down in Las Vegas. And so money talks when you have people that put money behind things. That's why they're going to get that arena. As we know, we have NBA basketball tonight. Baseball's tipping off. We have NHL. Big C, I want to get your final thoughts closing out. What are you looking forward to this evening? Go right ahead, sir.
Well, Charles, I'm looking at the NHL. You know, you got some series that can close out tonight, Charles. When you think about the Eastern Conference, you got the Capitals and the Maple Leafs. The Capitals leading that 2-1.
Yeah.
Well, Toronto's leading at 2-1, and you also got Ottawa leading the Bruins 2-1.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's very critical. And in the West, you got Anaheim up 3-0 on the Flames. And everybody expected the Flames to win that series. St. Louis has a 3-0 lead, Charles, against the Wild, the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah.
So the NHL hockey right now, Charles, which is at a fever pitch.
Yeah.
And the thing about it doesn't get the coverage like basketball does. But when you sit down and you watch hockey and you appreciate these grown men running around with knives strapped to their feet on ice. Okay?
Yeah.
And so many of these linemen now in hockey, Charlton, resemble football players. They look like linebackers and running backs. It used to be the smallest player when a Wayne Gretzky and a Gordie Howe were playing the quick players, the Yari Currys, the Mark Messiers, the Guy Lafleurs.
Yeah.
Very small, quick skaters. Now they're very physical, Charlton. They put their presence on the ice.
Yeah.
But, you know, the gracefulness that they skate with, Charlton, and this game, you have to go to a hockey game to really appreciate it. Because you get the sound of the ice cutting, you get the slap of the stick on the puck, Charlton.
Yeah.
And just see the whole floor. But, you know, I'm really excited about the NHL playoffs. I think a couple of them will come to an end tonight, Charlton, in the late games. But, you know, basketball is where it is. You know, they're early in their series. A couple of them will turn around. But, you know, I'm just excited about the world of sports that we have in this wonderful country called America.
Well, Big C, I appreciate it very much. I'm also excited, too, and every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. We always want to tell you, there's never any reason for domestic violence. You should never put your hands on a woman. If anyone does that, just call 911. That's what we tell you for every program. We thank you. We appreciate you. And we hope that you have a super fantastic day.